All right, my friends, welcome back. This is going to be part 89 of my presentation of the flood and Noah's Ark. And in this one here, we are going to look at names. Names. What is in a name? At least I'm going to start off. This is going to be continued on the next video. And we're still into the block of flood legends and all. But and when I was trying to think of an area I could put this. And I think this is about the best area that I could think of. We're talking about flood legends, and this is something that I'd heard even in certain Christian groups and circles. And, you know, whenever you get into Bible names, the names are just like we give names to our kids, you know, that we want to try to have that special name, you know, a name that whenever we say the name, it would remind us of something. You know, sometimes people will take parts of the father's name and mother's name, combine them, you know, to make that one child's name. I've seen some of that. You know, and in the Bible, it don't take much when you start to get studying the Bible that names are given to remind the people of certain incidents and events, some victories and some losses. Some of them, what isn't always good, you know, a happy time whenever the name was given. Sometimes the Lord sends an angel down to tell the individual, you're to name this person this. And so now sometimes God directly says, I want you to name your child this. And there's a specific reason for that, specific reason that they're to do that. And so what we're going to look at, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of folks that were told that had their names either changed or they were told to name their child a certain name. And then I'm going to go into the actual thing that I have heard, and is it legit or not? Is it legit or not? And I'll show you what I was able to find, okay? And so if you notice on the screen here, Abram had his name changed to Abraham. Now, for time's sake, guys, if you want to just jot down the references that I have here, you can do that. You can do that. And so Abraham's name had an H added into it. And so he went from exalted father to his name was called the father of a multitude. And God was the one that told him this, and directly. And same thing with Sarah or Sarai. Her name was changed to Sarah. An H was added into her name. So she went from princess to noble woman. And so God changed their names and their meanings of their names. And so now in the book of Luke, chapter 1, 5 through 15, Zacharias and Elizabeth, parents of John the Baptist, did not have any children and were well stricken in years. Basically, what that means is they were well beyond child rearing years. Their bodies were too old to produce children. And so now with God, anything is possible. So God told them through the angel that they're going to have a son and they're to name him John. And that name meant Jehovah is a gracious giver. And that's what it was, because they didn't have any children and they were old. And so they're actually going to have a child, and God is going to bless them with a child. And that child's name would remind them that the Lord is a gracious giver. Luke 1:28 to 35, Mary was told by the angel to name her son Jesus because Jehovah is salvation. Now, when you break down the name Jesus, the Jesus is Greek for the Hebrew word Joshua or Yeshua. You take the first part of it, means salvation, Jehovah. The second part of it, Oshia, means salvation. So it's Jehovah is salvation. You see just how special that name is. Now, when it comes to Methuselah, there is something I would like to share with you, and I'll show you what I found. Now, In Genesis chapter 5, 21 through 24, it says, "And Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begot sons and daughters. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him." Now, Enoch was raptured out. The Lord just took him. He didn't die physically. And so he was translated. The Lord just took him. And so now Methuselah, I have heard it been said that his name meant when he dies, it shall come. What is going to come? The flood. The flood would come. When Methuselah dies, the flood would come, or his death shall bring. His death shall bring was something else. The only thing I could think of, his death shall bring judgment, is what evidently, that could mean. But those are two things that I have heard stated that that's what his name means, and that it's significant because it told when the flood would happen. When the flood would happen. Now, when I looked into his name, I found man of the dark. Man of the dark. That is what I found when I looked into his name. I could not find that phrase there. When he dies, it shall come, or his death shall bring. I just couldn't find it. And the deeper I looked, I couldn't find much at all. I went in even deeper. If you guys want to jot down the numbers there, 4962, and I found man, and then an adult as a full length, a man. I found going down to 4970. I found when with a question mark, against when, until when, how long, after how long. That was seen. Weapon, missile, sprout, dart, that was there. And so, and then to send away, let go, stretch. And so that is what I found. And so what I saw was man sinned, went and sinned, man went and sinned. But the phrase there, when he dies, it shall come. I didn't see that, but man of the dart, I did see that. And so I will say this, if you want a good person to be the example of God's long suffering, Methuselah would be your man. And yes, he did die right at the flood. Right at the flood. Right as soon as he died, it wasn't right then. The flood did happen. And so I don't know. I couldn't find the phrase. I wish I could have. Boy, it'd be some good preaching. But again, for those that want like to be, a little bit more technical about it, I couldn't see it. I couldn't find that phrase. Methuselah again lived 969 years. And so if it's true that when he dies, it shall come, which would have been judgment or the flood, you couldn't find a better person because he lived the longest. He lived the longest, showing God's long suffering. Now, here's another one, guys, that I was able to, that I've heard before, and I'm sure you guys have heard. The 10 names of Genesis, chapter 5, and the gospel. And if you take these names here, now Shem, Ham, and Japheth are mentioned in verses 32. Verses 32. So if you take all these names here and you break them down, by what they mean, supposedly, this is what it means here. Now, let me go back to that one slide again. I've got the verses there for you guys to reference if you want to reference that. And I've got what I've been told that they mean. And so now I've highlighted their definitions only. And when you say it, it gives a sentence starting with Adam. Man appointed mortal sorrow, the blessed God shall come down teaching, his death shall bring the despairing rest or comfort. And so I tell you what, That's some darn good preaching. And so I just had to find out if it was true that those names actually defined that way as I just said them. And so what I did is I went into the concordance, and everything I found in yellow is what was found. Now, what was different, I guess you could say. And so with Canaan, I saw possession or room or nest. Mahalalel, I saw praise of God. And so I don't, probably not much difference. Jared, I saw descend. Enoch, I saw train up. And so Methuselah, I saw man of the dart. And Lamech, I couldn't verify it whatsoever. I don't know, guys. There's enough here that there very well could be something to it. I will say that. I'm not going to write this one off. There's enough here that there very well could be something to it. And so, but I tell you what, going back again, that is really interesting. Man appointed mortal sorrow, the blessed God shall come down teaching, his death shall bring the despairing rest or comfort. And so, very, very interesting. And so, does Methuselah's name mean when he dies, it shall come? I don't know. It's some good preaching. And I will say this, he is the one that if I was to pick somebody to be a good example of how I am long-suffering and to give man a chance, that would be the person that I would pick. And so, he lived the longest, and he did die right at the beginning of the flood. And so right at the time the flood started. And so interesting, very interesting. So we'll stop right there. When we come back, we're going to look at some more names and kind of just, I'm rabbit trailing a little bit, though I'm still in the topic of the flood and flood legends and stuff like that and what's been stated. But we're not done. We're not done yet. I got still a few more to go before we finish. But you guys take care. I love you. Hope the Lord bless you real good. Bye-bye.